Do you ever really want to create something, but you don't know where to start? Or have you started making something, but the initial enthusiasm has worn off, and now you're stuck not knowing the next step? Yep, me too. Welcome to my studio floor. Today I'm going to be working on some paintings and chatting about how I've been finding ways to work through those feelings and keep a playful approach right the way through the making process. My name is Orla and I'm an artist and illustrator. I love capturing how places feel, and I'm forever inspired by landscape and my time spent outside in nature, wherever that may be found, from cities to rural countryside. Whilst I chat, I'll be creating some abstract paintings inspired by our connections to and memories of the coast and marine environments. I'm using words as a starting point for my paintings, which have been generously shared by my YouTube audience through comments on a previous video. Thank you to everyone who shared your words with me. To keep things as unbiased as possible, I'm using a random word picker to choose what words I'm working with today. Over time, I've come to realise, through lots of frustration, trial and error, that my creative blocks always get stuck, or don't start at all, because of this one thing: intention. I either have too many intentions, or I have a sense of what they are, but it's not clear. I found the setup, or warming into a project, no matter its stage, to be a bit of a game changer. And this is what I wanted to share with you today. I'll be demonstrating how I use this simple process to begin, and also how to revisit and get things moving when I'm further along with the work. So stay tuned later in the video to see how I demonstrate that. Before I get into any making, I like to set two intentions. One technical and one conceptual or emotional. As I mentioned earlier, my work is based on emotions and how places feel. For this project, I begin by setting intentions for each of the 6 paintings I'm working on today. Under each painting title, I like to list out feelings and things that I associate with that word. I also consider 1 or 2 technical parts of painting that I could bring in to represent the words and feelings I've outlined. No matter your ability, I think setting 1 or 2 technical intentions really helps. For this session, I've written things like balanced composition, or listed the types of marks I want to make, in this case scribbly. It's also worth remembering that none of this is ever tying. All we are doing is giving ourselves a way in, or something to fall back on once we get going.
Born over a fault line, bad teeth and worse habits, high heels and
It's so simple, but knowing where you'd like to go can make all the difference in beginning something new. Typically, creative projects meander and take unexpected directions, which is part of the joy of making. So don't worry if what you make takes a new course from the intentions that we set originally. I like to keep the notes visible nearby me when I'm working as a reference, to remind me if I want to stay focused on this as I work. Okay, so planning our intentions are all well and good, but how do you actually use that to begin? My favourite way is to start with something easy. It can be anything, but usually it's choosing a favourite medium, texture or colour, or combining all of those 3 things. The initial marks for a painting can be a fun way to begin to explore the intentions we set. For instance, the colours I'm beginning with on these pages are chosen to reflect the intentions and the emotions that I've written out. I always know that the base layers are most likely going to be covered up anyway. The act of starting with a mark or two is usually enough to lure me into the fun of painting without any pressure. This way of working suits my personal process as well, because I love to create lots of layers in my work, and everything that gets hidden ends up making up the character of the piece. If you're creating or wanting to try abstract paintings for yourself, one of the most beneficial things I practice and remind myself of regularly is not to be precious. Inevitably, you'll have to paint over areas and sacrifice little bits that you really, really love to make the painting work as a whole. Or to push yourself out of your comfort zone to discover something fresh and new. For this reason, I like to have several paintings in progress, even if I'm not working on them all at once like I am doing today. Having those several on the go means that this one that you're working on right now isn't precious. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't work out, and you can simply put it to the side and start working on the next. Before I get into the second half of this video and share with you how I've been developing these paintings, as well as how I've been bringing intention into that more messy middle stage of the process, I wanted to take a minute to tell you about my Patreon page, The Outdoor Sketchbook Collective. Over on Patreon, I share monthly video and written tutorials, breaking down elements of my process into much more depth. My tutorials are all focused on ways that I can make abstract painting more accessible, whether you are a beginner painter or an experienced one. I love to focus on the feeling of play, experimentation and freedom within my work, and I hope these tutorials help you find your own creative voice and ways to connect to both yourself, to nature and a community of like-minded people. To support the tutorials, we have community chats where we can share our works in progress, ask each other for feedback and share ideas and questions that we have. To get to know one another better, I also hold one monthly Zoom meetup where I share an element of my process with you through a workshop, and then we have time to share with each other what we've created, ask each other ideas and just have a bit of a catch up and a bit of natter. If you'd like to find out more about the Outdoor Sketchbook Collective, I will leave a link to that down below. It's now the next day in the studio and I am coming back in with fresh eyes in the morning. I'm still going to be working from the words which I set yesterday. I've got 6 of them, but before I do anything, I wanted to just sit and practice what I preach. I'm often saying, write a brief, get in the zone, set a bit of an intention for your session, and that's what I'm going to sit down and take a moment to do myself today. When I set intentions during the development of a painting, it's basically just a moment to stand back, see what's going on, how the piece feels, and what else I might like to try and bring into the work. After taking a look at what I've created so far, I land on the following intentions: to continue focusing on colour to express emotion, and to bring more contrast to the work. Another way to look at setting intentions is like you're creating parameters to play within. I always get overwhelmed, especially with abstract-driven work, when I'm trying to do too many things. I've enjoyed painting so much more since I've stopped expecting each work to be perfect across all areas. Instead, I pick 1 or 2 things to practice and improve on that. With these intentions, you're giving yourself space to play freely in, and you'll probably find yourself experimenting even more within those limitations. I think I see more progress in my paintings overall when I go narrow and focused rather than wide and shallow in my intentions. I've been finding as I work on this collection of paintings that a big blocker for painting enthusiasm is an overly present inner critic, especially for development work or creating final paintings. When I'm on my sketchbooks or just messing around, it rarely rears its head because I am fully comfortable with focusing on the process and the outcome genuinely doesn't matter. This lack of pressure and worry creates the beautiful flow state where lots of the goodness and the learning happens. However, as soon as critical thoughts and fear come in whilst I'm painting, things tend to get tighter or stuck. I only recently remembered that analysis and judgment are two different things. Analysis is that useful bit where you step back and without emotion review what is happening and what could be improved. Judgment, on the other hand, is the bit that's usually happening whilst I paint, that tells me untruths and judges live in real time. It's like an uninvited commentator that we need to kindly show to the exit. This isn't to say that all judgment is negative. In fact, candid critique can be one of the most beneficial ways to move our work forwards. However, criticism and judgment in our heads whilst we are working is very rarely of the productive kind. I wanted to share one final niggling worry I've been having recently and how I'm working through it, in case you're in the same boat as me and it helps you out. In the last month, I've become a little bit anxious about my development process, worrying somehow that my finals are not final enough, and that if I manage to achieve a completed piece in 1 or 2 days, its speed would devalue the work. So to all my speedy painters out there, I'd love to know if you've also had that annoying thought and how you've dealt with it. In reality, all my best work is made through play, an explosion of paint and energy, which is documented to the page pretty quickly. That is one of my strengths. The development lies in the silence between painting, stepping back to take time away, to review and to analyse, moving from that mindset of play to the mindset of analysis. My solution to the inner critics and the self-judgment has been to think about my mindset. It's been from working in cycles of play, followed by space, then followed by analysis, before firmly removing my analytical hat and stepping back into play again. Taking time to separate these mindsets has really moved mountains for me this month in how I feel whilst I'm painting. I think that's something which is always going to be a constant practice and something which I've got to keep myself dedicated to throughout my whole career and throughout every single painting that I make. Before I show you how these 6 paintings have turned out, I wanted to share something which has just arrived in the post. It's my latest art print, which I ordered for a friend, and I wanted to show you how it looks on camera. This is a collage I created the other month in a video on YouTube, which celebrates a hope spot, which is a marine conservation area. We have one of these in Scotland, and I spent time last year at an artist residency there. I'll pop a link below to the project and how I created the print if you're interested in checking it out and learning more about what hope spots are. So this print, Hope, is a fine art open edition print, and it's been created using archival inks on German etching paper. And I am really happy with seeing it in the flesh and looking at the quality of the print. It's available now on my website shop, and it comes with free global shipping. If you'd like to stay in touch with more behind the scenes info and notifications of new work releases, you'll find that over on my Instagram page, which is @OrlaStevens, or through my website newsletter. So without further ado, it is time to share how these paintings have turned out. I like to title and sign the works below the painting on the front to mark it as complete. In order to keep myself accountable, I'm sharing with you that the full collection will be releasing on the deadline of the summer solstice, which is the 20th of June. In the meantime, I'm going to be continuing to document and share the process of creating this new collection of work as it grows with you here on YouTube. So stay tuned for future videos to watch how this work all develops and comes together. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you outside.